Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode from your channel Dual Knowledge. Today we'll be scrutinizing some of the key concepts in the English language. The words which are going to be explained today are crucial to be able to understand grammar and also to be able to identify the different types of words in English, especially if you're studying English for academic purposes. So, when we divide words in English, words are divided according to something that we call parts of speech. Parts of speech. These are the word classes, which means the types of words in English. Well, there are plenty of those, but we will be only concerned about quite a few today, which are the most common ones. So the main parts of speech in English are verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, and interjections. Let me begin with interjections because these are unimportant and they are not very common in the language. So interjections are just a group of letters or small words which are used to convey strong feelings. So for example, if you are rooting for a team or cheering for a player in a stadium or at a certain sporting event, and then this team or that player wins or scores a goal or scores a point, so the crowd or the fan might say, "Hooray! Hooray!" That's an interjection. These interjections are usually, or actually most of the time, if not always, are followed by an exclamation point or an exclamation mark. The British call it an exclamation mark, but the Americans call it an exclamation point. Another very famous interjection is wow. So wow is used to express admiration or to express astonishment and surprise. Another famous interjection is oops. So this also shows a surprise or shows that you are sorry because you have done something without meaning to. As you can see, all of these words or all of these little groups of letters are interjections. They are followed by exclamation point or exclamation mark, and they convey or express a strong feeling. We also have another type of words in English or a part of speech which is called prepositions. Prepositions are words which are used before a noun or a pronoun, and we will come to explain nouns and pronouns later in the video. But prepositions are these words which refer to a place or a time. So when you say, for example, before the meeting, so you are referring to a certain point of time that's going to come at a time earlier than the meeting. So before is a word that refers to a certain point of time. It is a preposition. It can be a preposition of place. You can say, for example, that the pharmacy is between the library and the bank. So the situation or the location or the place, the position of the pharmacy or the drugstore or the chemist's is between, that's the place of it, the bank and the library. So prepositions are just words which are used to refer to a certain point of time, whether it's in the past, present or future, or to refer to the position, location or place of a person or a thing. Then we move on to adjectives and adverbs. Well, these are descriptive words, so adjectives and adverbs describe. The main difference between them is that adjectives describe nouns and pronouns, whereas adverbs describe verbs. So you say, for instance, he is intelligent. Intelligent is a word that describes the pronoun he. You can replace the pronoun he with any other male name like Steve, for example. So you say Steve is intelligent. Intelligent is an adjective also in this sentence because it describes a noun, which is Steve. Whereas an adverb, which typically in English ends in ly, so an adverb in English is made by adding the suffix ly to any adjective. But let me tell you something, that many of those adverbs in English do not end in ly. For example, very is an adverb. Always is an adverb. Sometimes is an adverb. So all of these words are adverbs, but they do not end in ly. However, typically, the typical methodology for constructing an adverb or for making an adverb, for forming it, is to add the suffix ly to the end of an adjective. So you get the adjective and you put ly to it. So instead of perfect, it becomes perfectly. Instead of nice, it becomes nicely. Instead of careless, it becomes carelessly, and so forth. So adverbs describe verbs, unlike adjectives which describe nouns or pronouns. So we can have another example about the same person, Steve, by saying Steve drives slowly. Slowly here is an adverb because it describes the verb drives. So you can say that Steve is a slow driver. So slow is an adjective which describes the word driver, which is a noun. It describes Steve, the driver. So slow is a noun. Slow is an adjective. You add an ly suffix to it, it becomes slowly. So it describes the verb. It becomes Steve drives slowly, or walks slowly, or speaks slowly, and so on. Then as yet we have covered 4 main types of words, or 4 main parts of speech, and those are interjections, prepositions, adjectives, and adverbs. Now on to the 2 main and the most common parts of speech in English, or the most common types of words, and these are verbs and nouns. A verb is simply a word that refers to an action that's done. So when you say read, that's an action. Drink, that's an action. Talk, that's an action. So all of these verbs, or all of these words, are verbs because they express the idea of an action being performed. Nouns, on the other hand, refer to a person or a thing, and this thing can be physical or can be abstract. Abstract means that it's not touchable. You cannot put your hands on it, you cannot see it, you cannot smell it, you cannot touch it. For instance, when you say manager, that's a person. The manager is a person, so manager is a word that's classified in English as a noun. When you say woman, that's a person, so woman is a noun. When you say girl or boy, all of these are people. All of these words refer to people, so all of these words are nouns. Nouns can also refer to physical things, like when you say book, that's a thing. Pen, that's a thing. Table, that's a thing. So all of these words, table, pen, and book, are also categorized in English as nouns because they refer to things. As I said a minute ago, a noun could be an abstract thing, like ambition. You cannot touch ambition. You cannot see ambition, right? It's something not physical. So it's a noun because it's a thing, but it's an abstract noun, we call it, yeah? Success, love, hope, victory, all of these are nouns, but they are abstract nouns because they refer to things which are not physical, not touchable, and cannot be seen, etc. Also, some other key concepts that we should be familiar with in English are the 2 words singular and plural. So singular means only one person or only one thing, whilst plural means more than one. So if you refer to only a single person or a single thing, just one person or one thing, you say that's a singular noun. But if you refer to more than one person or to more than one thing, it becomes plural. Normally, plurals in English are made by adding s to the singular noun. So book is singular, books is plural. House is singular, houses is plural. But there are some irregular plurals in English which do not end in s or es. For instance, we have the plural of person, people. Some people use persons in some formal contexts, but that's not our topic right now. Let's for now consider that the plural form of the word person is people. It doesn't end in an s. The plural of the word man is men. It doesn't end in an s. The plural of the word mouse is mice. It doesn't end in an s either. So the majority of plurals are made by adding s or es or ies to the singular noun. However, we still have some irregular plurals in English which do not end in these endings. Also, we should be familiar with some other important terms, and these are phrase and sentence. A phrase is a group of words which do not express a complete idea or a complete thought. For example, when you say in a house, okay, what's in a house or who is in a house? When you say at home, what's happened at home? Who's at home? So when you say in a house, that's a phrase. When you say at home, that's a phrase. When you say an old man, what's wrong with the old man? You're just saying an old man, but you haven't said anything about him. That's a phrase. Why? Because all of these are groups of words which do not convey or express or transfer a complete thought or a complete idea. A sentence, on the other hand, is a group of words which expresses a complete idea or a complete thought. It begins with a capital letter and it ends either with a full stop if it's a declarative sentence or a negative sentence, or it ends with an exclamation mark. In American English, they call it an exclamation point, as we said earlier. That's if the sentence conveys strong feeling. Or it ends with a question mark if it's a question, if it's an inquiry, an interrogation somehow, an interrogative sentence. Right, so a phrase versus a sentence. A phrase is a group of words which doesn't convey a complete thought or a complete idea. For example, in a house, at home, an old man. While on the other hand, a sentence is a group of words which conveys a complete idea. Like, the man went into the room. The man went into the room. Complete idea. She closed the door. She closed the door. It's a complete idea. Do you like pizza? Do you like pizza? It's a complete idea. What a game! What a game! That's a complete idea. All of these are sentences because they convey or express a complete idea. Also, some more terms or some more concepts that English learners should be familiar with when they are learning the language is the word paragraph. A paragraph is a short part of a text. A short part of a text that typically consists of a few sentences, and normally whenever we have a written text, it's divided into paragraphs. So a paragraph is a short or a part of that text that discusses a single idea. That's a paragraph. And a paragraph is a concept that's relevant more to written language rather than spoken language. The last word which we should be familiar with as English learners is the word dialogue. A dialogue is a conversation between two people. A conversation between two people is considered or is called a dialogue. So when you say, for example, how is Joe? So speaker A is asking, how is Joe? So speaker B says, he's good, thanks. That's a dialogue because we have two speakers. Speaker A asking a question and speaker B answering the question. There's a question and an answer. That's called a dialogue. In this case, it's a mini dialogue or a small dialogue because it just consists of one exchange, one speaker talking to another, or one speaker asking the other one question and being answered with one answer. But in general, a dialogue is a word which means a conversation between two people. Sometimes we might come across the term monologue. rather than dialogue. Monologue. Monologue means a person talking on their own, a person talking by themselves. They are not talking to anyone else, but they are talking to themselves. They are speaking to themselves. So we can say here, figuratively, that speaker 1 and speaker 2 are the same person. That's why it's called a monologue. Mono is a prefix that means one. Di is a prefix that means two. So these were some of the basic and the fundamental concepts and terms that each and every English learner must be familiar with. I hope that I managed to deliver their meanings quite easily and straightforward. And as usual, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your day, and see you in our next episode. Goodbye.